Hi, welcome back to my channel. This video is kind of like, if you like this, you'll like this kind of video. What that actually is called, I have no idea, but let's get started on it. So many families love the Penderwicks. The Penderwicks were recently published, and they have this whimsical ideal to them that appeals to a lot of people. It is a larger family, so there's 4 siblings, and I think they're all girls, and then there's other characters kind of thrown into the picture. We have done the first Penderwicks, and there isn't anything that I could pinpoint and say this is why I don't like it. It just isn't my favorite, because I do have ones that are our favorites, and we listen to those over and over again. And so that's what this video is going to be. It's going to be sharing those with you, because if you like the Penderwicks, you will love these books. Honestly, I just can't make this video without mentioning this particular author and this particular series. I think I have sung the praises of these books from the rooftops, because they have just been a delight, and they're ones my children constantly pick up to read or pick up to listen to. We do have the audio CDs, and the audio CDs has a phenomenal narrator, and so I'm going to leave both of them linked down below because she was great. And that series is the Malindi Children, written by Elizabeth Enright, who wrote Simple Summer, which, if you kind of do like Book Shark and Sunlight, that tends to be like one of the big books out there. She did Simple Summer, she did Gone Away Lake, and you've heard me mention that. So that is the author of these books. The Saturdays is about 2 boys, 2 girls, siblings, and basically their life just after or just during the Depression, all the way through World War II. And I think it's actually just at the tail end of the Depression. They are motherless, like the Penderwicks, if I remember correctly. I think it's, yeah. Don't remember where I was, but anyway, the Malindi Children are a sibling group just before World War II. They have lost their mother. Their father has hired a housekeeper who is a part of the family, and they also have a mechanic kind of guy that does the furnace, the gardening. No, he doesn't do the gardening because that comes out later, but he does that kind of thing. So you've got a male and a female kind of in the lives of these children. In the Saturdays, which is your first one, these children decide to pool their resources, which is what saying my kids really love. They pooled their allowance, and they go on these adventures once every Saturday. Instead of only having 25 cents a week, now they have $1 to go do something with, or whatever it is, 75 cents actually, I think it is. And each chapter kind of takes a different adventure with a kid. This is probably the favorite. So the second one is 4-Story Mistake, and in this one, basically,
at the end of book 1, there is a tragedy-ish plot twist. They'll lose a house, and then they meet, and that's it.
In the second book, they have moved to a different home, and it's just called a 4-Story Mistake because the house has this weird thing on top that the architect kind of messed up with the builders. There's communications going on.
Cupola.
And anyway, it's kind of like their little clubhouse, and in this one, they are in a different setting, and you have different adventures that happen to these children. If you know of Simple Summer, you can kind of assume what to expect. They ride their bikes everywhere. They meet a new character that starts being a part of their lives. They get into trouble. They are real children in that way, but it's very nice. It's very simple. And it's very clean. And in the third book, then there were 5. You have a new person in their story. Now we have a new character into the story. Honestly, I don't remember this one as much, but the Malindi Children are such a joy and such. The story is one that you would expect to continue on after the first 2 and really loving. Elizabeth Enright kept up the the main idea behind that, which is good family values, working together, having adventures, living your childhood to the best of it, and all of these minor details that make up a great story. Then the last one is the Spiderweb for 2, when 3 of the children go off to school and they leave the 2 youngest ones have to be at home. And it's kind of how they cope with now not having all of those siblings and learning to adapt to a different stage of life. And Spiderweb for 2 just kind of shares a lot of that and those adaptations and those growths during that year. So much fun. That whole series is a 10-star rating out of a 5-star review kind of thing. The other thing that kind of goes along with, you know, your Penderwicks and the Malindi Children, if you can only get one, I highly recommend the Malindi Children. But the second one would be the Moffats. The Moffats aren't as fun as the Melindis for us, but they definitely still have those family values that parents really enjoy, and the sibling working together play aspect that I think gravitate towards those of us that have siblings that are close and kind of want the books to illustrate that. In the Moffats, we have this issue of a house going up for sale and what the Moffats kind of do to kind of hold on to what they know and what they love and their treasure. So it's precious. There is a little bit more, you know, mischief in here. I kind of liken it to the movie Madeline, where it's child mischief that's just not gone overboard. And you have your mother who's working hard, so there is family figures in here. The kids did not get into this as much in the beginning, but as we read more and they could kind of see a similar storyline as with the Melindis, I think they really gravitate toward it. And then we have the Middle Moffat, which is the 3rd book in the series. The second one we actually don't own, and I can't give you a review on that, but trust me when I say that it will be one that our family does very soon because we love it so much. Recently, we picked up the book No Children, No Pets, and I had seen this in my secondhand bookstore, and I have seen this kind of go around a lot on Instagram and within homeschool families. And I picked it up, and when I started, I did not have high expectations, to be honest. It did not sound something that we would like, and it's a smaller family in the sense that you have a brother, sister, and a little sister. So that kind of working together sibling type of thing that I expected didn't seem to be going for this family.
Like the Railway Children.
But the further we got in, the more my kids were starting to say, hey, that's like, oh, I wonder if, and wanting another chapter. So, as I said, I actually read ahead of this just to kind of see how it would end, and it did end in a way that I expected it to. A little bit of a twist, but it is, I would put it along the lines of, if you like the Penderwicks, the Melindis, the Moffats, No Children, No Pets does work along with that, and it's really enjoyable. So that's what this video is. It's just, you're trying to find similar stories along the lines of the Penderwicks. This is a good stack of reading material here. Other books that we have enjoyed that don't necessarily have a similar time period, but definitely have similar values would be The Railway Children. That is one that my children have really loved and enjoyed, as well as the Narnia series. What does that mean?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes. Railway Children.
Yes to the Railway Children. So, I'm going to kick my kids out. And again, also along those lines would be, you know, the Narnia Children. Or the Narnia series, especially The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which kind of brings in those siblings that have to learn to work together and through obstacles and adventures, which is what children really gravitate towards, I think, at this stage. Okay, so I actually forgot 2 books that I had wanted to mention in this video. The problem was my camera was sitting on them, so I didn't notice it. But along with Moffats and all of that, I actually want to share with you The Lizard Garden by Anne Phillips and The Accompaniment for Banya Treasure, also by Anne Phillips. The premise of these is that you have 3 children In Lizard Garden, you have them in Denmark, and you get kind of a living book with geography and art put into it, and it's really interesting. Rijksmuseum tends to be like a focal point within Lizard Garden, as well as Holland and the Lizard Garden, and different points in this book. I'm not really explaining this well. I have a kid going after a bunny and it's being a little distracting. Honestly, within the Lizard Garden, we had so much fun just reading about this family. One of the things that we ended up doing was making Nutella spaghetti from this book. Like, that's something my kids still carry with, because in Denmark you don't necessarily do like a full week shopping trip, and so at one point what they had available was Nutella spaghetti. So it was a really fun kind of adventure story along the lines with the Malindis, the Moffats, and all of that. And then in Malindi Treasure, which was our more recent read, it still has been a couple of years, you have a treasure hunt in this one, and you have different points of like different points within Europe of artwork, and it's this eccentric grandma who's basically going to find rest within her own father. And it's a difficult journey, not just for grandma, but the children and their cousins kind of go along with this trip, and they get to explore different parts of Europe and learn different parts of art. But again, you have your mischievous children and how they work together and how grandma plays a part in their lives. Well, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you